20 minutes after 7. Good to have you with us. I'm Gareth Edwards. Sally Baudet is away for the next few days. The South African Union of Students has come out and are slamming the new direct payment system for students by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, or NSFAS, if you will. The union recently meeting with the scheme to resolve, among other issues, including this. So where exactly are we and why is this causing such a problem? Well, the South African Union of Students spokesperson, Asive Dlanjwa, making time for me this evening. Asive, hello to you. So help me understand, what exactly is the issue here with these direct payments? I don't think those of us who aren't involved in student affairs are understanding what the problem is. Just unpack it for me quickly.
Good evening, Gareth, and thank you for having us. Number one, I think as it pertains to direct payment themselves, the direct payment initiative itself is an initiative that we had supported, and I'll explain why. Because we believed that it was a system that would ensure that students would be getting their allowances directly from NSFAS, and that they would cut out the middlemen. In doing so, we would do a few things. We would improve the efficiency and the timeliness of students getting their allowances, ensuring that they're getting it on time and they're all getting it at the same time, because there were other institutions, for whatever reasons, they would withhold the allowances of students. Sometimes we had service providers that were engaged in corruption. You will remember the case of the 14 million rand with the students, where they would siphon funds out of the system. So we wanted those funds to be paid directly to students and on time. And we had agreed with NSFAS on that model. And however, what we are then seeing now is a model that is inconsistent with what I have just told you. It is a system that is proving to be difficult for students to be able to use and for them to be able to get their allowances. As we speak, less than 70% of students have been able to get their allowances across all institutions in South Africa, and that's a crisis for ourselves. So the problem here is that the students have not been able to get their allowances, as I've mentioned, because of the inefficiencies of the current system that is currently being used. And also, it is having exorbitant charges where students are paying, some of them up to 174 rands charges, when in fact we had initially agreed on an administration fee of no more than 12 rands per student. So these are some of the challenges. Some of the service providers have been alleged to have been stealing money from the students. The students' money is getting missing, etc. So these are some of the problems that we have faced with the current payment system as currently initiated.
Yeah, for a student, I think we've all been there when you're starting to pay 170-odd rand for admin fees instead of the agreed 12 rand. It makes a difference to a student's life and how much money they have to buy food. What's NSFAS saying about this?
We've had several meetings with the scheme, and I think we have agreed on a few things. The first one is that we have drawn the line very clear on the issue of the fees, that we will not accept anything more than that which was agreed on. There were other issues with the payment system in terms of the standardization of the system, ensuring that and the usability and the user-friendliness of the system. So those are all the demands that we have put on the table, and which we have agreed with NSFAS. There will also been an issue of students that have not been onboarded, meaning that the students have not been placed on the new platform for them to be receiving their allowances. Now, there are a few problems with that. The first one is that the system itself was proving to be difficult to use and interact with. The second one is that there are universities that are deliberately frustrating the payment process, because there are many university officials who have been benefiting directly from dispersing funds to the students, and they've been deliberately withholding the registration data. So now what happens is this: universities have to confirm that indeed that the beneficiaries that NSFAS has on their side, that indeed they are registered in that specific institution, and then they would then have to submit what we call registration data to NSFAS. It is then where NSFAS uploads that onto the onboarding system, for where the students will then be able to be paid. There are universities that up until today, Gareth, have withheld that information that they have with themselves, not allowing for students to be able to get their allowances, in hope maybe that they might collapse the system. We have also agreed and met with the department, the DG, that we are giving those universities no more than 72 hours to release that registration data, so that the students are able to receive their allowances. So that is the other issue which we have agreed on with NSFAS, that as soon as they get that registration data, that also within the next 72 hours, all students must be paid. To give you a practical example, at Wits University, by yesterday, only 1,500 students had been paid from their 10,084 students that are on NSFAS. In the next 72 hours, we have received confirmation that about 96% of that 10,000 will all be paid within the next 72 hours. So those are some of the agreements that we have come with the scheme.
All right, so those are the agreements. Of course, we're going to follow up on that along with what you've had to say here. I want to pick up, Asive, on what you're suggesting, that there are some university officials deliberately withholding these funds. A, why would they be doing that? And B, what proof do you have? Help me try and take this story forward. What you're essentially doing is accusing some university officials of corruption and malfeasance. It's quite a claim to make.
No, it's not an accusation, nor is it even wild. It's a fact. The universities were supposed to submit registration data to NSFAS. Up until today, it's a fact that and not all universities have submitted that registration data to NSFAS. In fact, I think about 2 or 3 days ago, almost 40% of students' data had not been submitted by universities. So it is not an accusation, it is a fact that universities have deliberately withheld this. Well, this fact was even presented at our meeting with the department, and it cannot be disputed. It is a fact, the numbers are there. For that matter, we most probably will publish those numbers within the next 24 hours. We will name and we will shame those universities that have deliberately withheld that registration data. And why would they do that? To answer your question, Gareth, is because before the direct payment systems, universities would choose how and they would choose the service providers for themselves that they would use to disperse funds. And some of them, we know for a fact that they had been benefiting from some of those contracts. Some universities, as with the outcomes of the SIU report, for instance, the University of Johannesburg had withheld up to 300 million rands that they were investing that they should not have, that they should have returned to NSFAS. And so many universities, in fact, what I'm saying, even the SIU report has proven, had withheld funds that were not belonging to them and withholding from paying them to students so that they could reinvest those funds for the interest that they would pay.
So it comes down to making more money off the money that the students aren't getting, get the interest from that. So I was asking you to back that up. It looks like you've backed it up very nicely. I need to say goodbye to you in a moment, Asive, but I want to understand, take me into the world of a student right now, not getting this money. You say 1,500 students out of 10,000 just at Wits. That's just one campus not getting the money that they're supposed to. Here I've been sent a message by a student who obviously relies on NSFAS money, and this is the situation. Short in getting money for groceries here at school. I'm not going to give the young person's name, but I will say it is from Rhodes University as well. So just take me to the world of a student now. When you say there's no money for students, it's not because they want to go drinking. They can't buy groceries. They can't get to campus. That's how bad it is.
You're absolutely right, Gareth. And this is why we have been outraged by this payment system, because as it currently stands, because you are completely right. Those students, some of them, by the way, let me give you another example. For the students at the Nelson Mandela University, we have received reports that a few thousands of them were supposed to come back to rewrite their exams, those of them that had qualified for re-examinations. And they were relying on those funds coming in so that they could catch transport back and catch buses back into the university. They have not been able to. We are now even having to negotiate with the university to extend those examinations so that the students are able to receive their funds such that they can come. So you are completely right. They are starving, they are not having transport and all the necessary needs that they would have to meet for them to be able to be engaged successfully in teaching and learning. And for those that are at home who are worried that they might not even be able to come home because they rely on those allowances to be able to transport themselves back into the institution.
Yeah, and now having to potentially turn to loved ones, parents, family members to try and help them just buy something as simple as groceries. It's a big issue. We're going to pick this up with the authorities as well. But Asive Dlanjwa, thank you very much for setting the picture for me this evening. We'll follow this up, I'm sure, if not tonight, at least tomorrow morning. Joining us from the South African Union of Students, making time for us this evening. It's the issue around the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. A lot of money, it seems, being withheld when it's supposed to have been given out and distributed to the students. But there's a new system in place as well. Is this an admin issue? We'll get to the bottom of it.